Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. It is now time to meet and introduce Kathy Lindert, our favorite hypnotist. That's right. It's your favorite hypnotist. And here she is joining us, the owner of the Mental Edge LLC. Pleasure to have you here from beautiful Charlotte, North Carolina. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. And thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you for being here. Could you tell us a little bit about what you do as a hypnotist? I know there's quite a few things. Give us a little overview.
There is. But my main practice, what I help people with is to quit smoking, quit vaping, lose weight, get over fears, and help you with your confidence, especially in public speaking.
And this is fascinating. You're located in North Carolina, but this works as we are talking today. Besides being live on the podcast, ladies and gentlemen, we're live on the Zoomcast. So this is how you work with your clients, right? So they could be anywhere around the world.
Anywhere. When COVID hit, for the first few weeks, now I had moved from New Jersey. So I'm originally from New York, New Jersey.
Yes. Really? Whereabouts, if you don't mind me asking?
Sure. I was in Morris County in New Jersey, and when I was in New York, I was born in the Bronx, lived in Queens and Rockland County.
Oh my goodness, amazing. I live on Long Island, but I used to live in Whitestone and I have family in New Jersey. So good to know this. Okay.
Well, it was so funny because when they had said WPIX, I'm like, I used to watch that.
Yeah, me too. One of my favorite spots to work so many years. It's like a family there. Really, still love that channel. Well, thank you for being here. So now again, quit smoking, lose weight, helping people overcome their fears. And this is what she can help you with online. So continue.
And also with the vaping, I'm starting to get a lot of people that want to quit vaping because it is really, in my opinion, smoking is bad, but vaping is worse because it's the oil that is getting into your lungs that is basically doing a slow suffocation. And so I'm seeing a lot of people in January and February. It's really funny. It's a busier time for me with smoking. And then in February, March, and April, it's weight. But throughout the year, I help people with fears, whether it's fear of driving. I used to be afraid of driving over bridges. And when you live in New York, New Jersey, there's bridges everywhere. So I help people with those types of fears, whether it's fear of driving on highways, bridges. Sometimes it's fear of spiders, snakes.
Yep.
You know, now living in North Carolina, you have a lot of people afraid of snakes. And then with the public speaking, it's amazing how many people will have panic attacks, freeze, or get so much and sweating and heart beating that I'm able to teach them how to calm themselves down. And what's so amazing about hypnosis, I'm a mortgage banker by trade. So I became a hypnotist 19 years ago.
Wow.
And I did it because I needed to help myself to stop having panic attacks while driving over bridges. But I also had quit smoking in 1987 with hypnosis, with a cassette. Now I'm 61, so if anybody's trying to guess. And it was one of those things that it worked in 3 days, boom. So it doesn't matter me in person, on audio, or on Zoom. If you want to quit and you want to change, we can make it happen.
Well, that's what I like hearing about. And we're going to talk about how hypnosis works and how it can work so quickly. But I think it's good to find a little more about you, if you don't mind first. Can we just go dive into your background? Well, I know where you're from. And I want to hear more about how you discovered hypnotherapy and all, but also a little bit about yourself. And you just mentioned your other, work and your career. Could you share a little bit about that?
Sure. So I am, first, like I said, I grew up in New York and then we moved to New Jersey. And now I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, because my husband ended up having a promotion. I have 2 grown men as my sons. And I always say young men, but they're 29 and 31. I became a hypnotist in 19 years ago. Don't make me do the math because I used to be a mortgage banker. And now it's one of those things. And the reason being is that, one, I had a fear of driving over bridges.
Wow.
And I would start having tremendous panic attacks to the point where I would stop, I would throw up, I would lean out of the car, and then I would be like, I can't go. So I needed to help myself, a family member that had OCD, which is obsessive compulsive disorder. And I know in 1987, my husband said to me, either you quit smoking or I'm not marrying you. Now I'm still married to the same man. So he was
Oh,
worth it.
absolutely. Wow.
And I had to figure out a way how to quit smoking, and cold turkey wasn't cutting it because in 1987, everybody smoked. It
Yeah.
was smoked right everywhere.
I
So
remember I was telling my kids, they're 6 and 8 now, but I'm like, Mom was on her first plane ride. I was 16, so it must have been the 90s. And people are smoking on Aeromexico in the non-smoking section. We're dying because the cloud of smoke is coming towards us. But like, yes, everyone smoked. My mom, my cousins, everyone. Yeah.
everybody. And I went to high school in Spring Valley. So I went to Spring Valley Senior High School, and we had a smoking lounge. So the kids would go out in the smoking lounge, and the teachers would sometimes come in and be like, who smokes Marlboro? Like here, you know? And it was just the thing to do. If you wanted to be cool, you smoked.
Mm-hmm.
So my husband said, either because his father had passed away from leukemia, and he said, either you quit or I'm just not marrying you. I just don't want to go through this again. So I had to think like, and at that time they had plastic cigarettes and you would use your pens or the stirrers. So finally, I'm reading in Prevention magazine. I don't even know if it's around anymore. A little, and this was how I became a hypnotist, how it says fears and phobias help with hypnosis. But in 1987, my one friend said, here's this guy, he does hypnosis. So I called him up and he was too booked. And he said, buy a cassette. So I bought the cassette, $30 back in 1987. That was like $100, right?
Oh my goodness.
And I listened to the cassette, and in 3 days I was done. So that's how I know people want to come in and air that I'm breathing. And I appreciate that because I'm fun. But at the same time, you can do this.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to be here. I show you, or I tell you, whether it's through hypnosis or something else that I use, which is NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. You know about that.
I've heard of it. And hopefully you'll enlighten us about that too, for those that don't know.
Yeah. So that's what ended up happening. And then when I started having the panic attacks, I read Prevention. I would read it all the time. And there was that little article about fears and phobias, help with hypnosis. And I decided this time, because I was just having so many problems with my panic attacks, thinking it was a heart attack and rushing myself to the hospital. I can't tell you how many times, that I said, let me take this into my own hands. So I called up the guy that was teaching and I said, if it doesn't work, I don't want to pay. Like, I need to know that this is going to work. So he said, I went for the class. I did a couple of techniques. I drove over a bridge. I was like, sold. So I decided I didn't want to be a mortgage banker anymore. And I wanted to become a hypnotist.
Wow.
And that was in 2008.
And here you are. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And just want to remind everyone how we can reach you. MentalEdgeLLC.com. That's MentalEdgeLLC.com. And did you want to share a phone number, social media page? And then let's get into how hypnosis works. And, let's get started.
Okay. So do you want me to share the phone number or you want me to do the phone number first? Okay. So it's 704-769-3400. And you can text me on that line, or you can also give me a call. If I'm with clients, of course, usually within 24 hours, to get back to everybody. But so now you want to know about NLP. I love NLP.
Tell us.
Linguistic programming. So what the neuro is, it's your brain. And what the linguistics is what you speak to yourself. Now, it doesn't mean that it's an outer talk. It's a lot of times the inner talk and how we're programmed together. So if you were to come and see me, I'd say, we're going to work with your brain and your mind and program it differently. So what NLP does is it changes the neural pathways in your brain. So in simple terms is you have highways, these connections in your brain. And if all of a sudden you're a smoker and you pick up a cup of coffee and you decide, oh, I have a cup of coffee, I need a cigarette. That is a pathway that you have planted in your brain. Same thing with food. If you're upset or stressed and you say, I need chocolate or I need chips to calm me down, you're setting that pathway. So that's how it becomes. So when it becomes a habit, it's an automatic no thinking, done. And the reason being is that you have two parts of your mind. You have your conscious and your subconscious part of your brain. Conscious part of your brain takes in all of your learning, your C's, 1, 2, 3. But your conscious part of your brain is also the part that has the good voice and the bad voice.
Yeah.
I don't really play with that part. I play with the subconscious. Subconscious part of your brain from birth until death takes care of all the functions, meaning you don't have to worry about, swallowing, blinking. You don't wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and go, did I give my pinky toe any blood? You don't have to think about it.
No, yes. Yes.
Subconscious mind is like done. But the subconscious part of your brain that I like to play with is your magic genie.
Ooh.
You rub the lamp, she or he pops out and says, your wish is my command. So that even though when you're taking that drag of your cigarette or taking that bite of the chocolate, automatically says, okay, we got to calm her down. That's it. Just calm her down. It feels good. And then it sounds the alarm. Fight. And that's what happens. So you programmed in your mind, when I eat a piece of chocolate or chips, when I take a drag of my cigarette, I feel good, calm, and I can then handle life. But then your body is fighting that fight. It doesn't need the chocolate, chips. It doesn't need the cigarette. So what NLP does is it comes in and it breaks those highways. It breaks those pathways, and it does it so quickly. It's amazing. When I have people, whether it's on Zoom or even in person, and I'll say, one of my favorite tricks is called the fist trick.
Ooh, and never heard of that.
Well, that's because I made it up.
Oh.
But what you do is you put all of energy in your dominant hand. And when you do that and you close your eyes, what ends up happening in your mind and your body, it thinks all that negative energy is going into your dominant hand. So that when you let it go, your mind and your body goes, whoo.
Oh.
But then we think about something that makes us great. Now, I love the beach. So if I was to put the beach in my non-dominant hand and I start thinking about the beach, what ends up happening is I'm already making a chemical change in my mind and my body. Plus, I'm confusing my mind as where I'm supposed to be. So as soon as I'm done letting that go, my mind and my body's like, you're at the beach. That's so nice. And then as you close both fists, you're confusing the subconscious mind and the conscious mind, because now it doesn't know what to think about, and it lets it. So it's a very cool trick. There's other things to that trick that to make it work even faster, but just doing that starts breaking those habits, those neural pathways. So then you can then say, no, I'm not doing that. It gives you back your power. And that's what I love about not only hypnosis, but NLP. It gives you back the power that you thought you didn't have.
Yeah.
It's great.
Well, we are thankful because it's like, this is so much that could change us, could help us. But one thing I remember, my mom she was a smoker. Unfortunately, she's passed now, but she, we always wanted her to stop smoking, my dad, my siblings. And she tried for us, didn't work. She did hypnosis, but because she really didn't want to do it. And it's on her deathbed, she was like, I still have a cigarette. I'm like, yeah, why not? So you have to have that will. You have to really want to change, right? That's the one thing that I hear that can go wrong. If it doesn't work, it's usually because that person may not be coming from them, but they truly want to do.
Correct. And that's what happened in the beginning when I first became a hypnotist. I thought I could fix everybody. And then you realize you can't. Because if they're not involved in it, if they don't want to be part of it, or just like, unfortunately, your mom, she did it for the wrong reason. She didn't do it because she loved you guys. She wanted to do it, but she didn't really want to do it because she wasn't ready.
Exactly.
That's what happens. In the beginning, I'd be like, sure, let me. And then I'd be working on them for hours and I'd be exhausted until finally one of the teachers said, they're never going to change. And I said, why? And they said, because they don't want to. Yep. And that's what's really powerful about hypnosis, that once you want to make the change, boom, it goes in, it breaks through the doors, and it just lets it happen. But if you don't want to change, you can't. Yeah. And it won't happen. And one of the biggest fears that, in fact, it was so funny when my kids were little and they would watch, whether it was SpongeBob or any of those little kinds of cartoons, right? And they would say, "Oh my God, Mom, don't look. They're hypnotizing them and they're making them bad." And hypnosis cannot make you do anything you don't want to do. It's not a brainwashing.
Yeah.
So it's not like I can hypnotize you and make you bark like a dog or quack like a duck. Because if you don't want to do that, you don't.
Yeah.
Look at how many people will sit in an audience and not get hypnotized for a stage hypnotist. Because you know what they do? Boom, they have that door. They're like lock, close, and put on a couple of other locks. So when you want to change and you decide, I'm important and that's it, that's when your subconscious mind comes up and it always says, your wish is my command.
Interesting, right?
Yep, it's amazing. There's another word I like to use with my clients. It's called abracadabra. And what that means is I create as I speak. It's Arabic. And so when I say, and I give them a poster, it says, I create as I speak, because that's exactly what happens. When you speak to yourself, having those inner conversations, or you allow somebody to plant a seed that's negative in your mind, that's what ends up happening, because the subconscious mind doesn't know what's real and what isn't real. It just does it. It's pretty amazing.
All right. Well, also, we want to talk more about, can I get some client testimonials? I love hearing this. Go to the website, guys and gals, too. Don't forget. And we're going to check back in if you guys have any questions as well. I'm just checking my emails. Want to make sure we're covering everything for you today, darling. And again, you're welcome, edgellc.com. Could you share some of the stories with us? It's always good to hear, testimonials yeah, I want to hear some of the great stories of the people you've helped. And do they ever have to come back, like for a tune-up?
It depends. It depends on certain things. Most of the times with smokers, it's a one and done. Occasionally, they will have to come back, and that's because they either broke up with somebody, had too many cocktails, thought they could have one, and so they would come back. But for instance, a number of years ago, and they still have both stopped smoking, I had a husband and wife come in, and they smoked a total of 2.5 packs between the two of them every day.
Wow.
And the reason why they quitting was because their son developed asthma, and it was because of the smoking. They both came in same day, and they both stopped smoking. When we figured out how much money I was saving them per year, it was close to $13,000.
Whoa.
Right.
Wow.
On average, it's amazing. The average person in North Carolina spends about $4,000. In New York, New Jersey, and California, where they're anywhere from $10,000 to $12,000 just on smoking alone. It's crazy. I also had a woman that her name is Kitty, and that's her nickname. And she had smoked for, I believe it was almost 60 years. And she tried everything. And she came in. She was a one and done. And she couldn't believe it. Like she said, I don't even miss them. So when that happens, it's great. Now, with the smoking, because your body has never liked it, doesn't need it, that's why you can do it in one session. Weight loss, it's a little bit longer. When I work with people that need to lose, and I don't really use the word lose, so I'm going to explain to you why. But if they need to lose 70 to 100 pounds, you're going to see me for at least 6 to 8 months. You don't see me every week. You're going to see me every 4 to 6 weeks, because then we keep on redoing the hypnosis and changing it because new ways that your mind is thinking. But when I have people come to me for weight loss, I say, when you lose something, you look for it. And that's why in weight loss programs, you gain the weight back, because your brain, it's brain trained. Oh, I lost my keys, look for it. I lost my sneaker, look for it, right? When you come to me, we get rid of it. That's it. We don't want it back.
Yeah.
So we do a lot with too, because your words will make you or break you. And when I hear people use a lot of what I call failure words, I will stop them and I will change the way that they speak to themselves. Because again, what you plant in your mind, you're doing your own hypnosis without you even realizing it.
Okay.
So, and then of course, I am my own success story, quitting smoking in
Yes,
1980
which we heard.
and
How
driving a
long did it take, by the way? How long
three
did you
days,
wait, what?
three days to quit smoking. I listened to the recording every night before I went to bed. I woke up and at that time, he was my fiance, now my husband, Tim. And I was like, I don't really even want a cigarette. It was the weirdest thing. And at that time, I worked in an office where everybody smoked. And they were having a pool, like when Kathy was going to fail. And
Yeah.
then I didn't fail. And then they started coming over to the desk and kind of like leaning over with the little, "Can you tell me where you got that recording from? Or can I borrow that recording?" And by the end of the year, because I quit April 2nd, 1987, I know
Okay.
exactly the date and time, or the year, I should say. And by the end of the year, half the office had quit smoking. It's amazing. Um, and with
Wow.
fears and phobias, like I said, that depends on the person. Usually you have 2 or 3 sessions with me
Hmm.
because they tweak what we're doing. Like for me, when I started to drive over bridges, I realized that part of it was almost like I felt like I was on a roller coaster. So when I was getting up to the top, I wanted to close my eyes,
Oh,
right? So,
yeah.
so that's where the panic came in. So I had to go back and say, and this was when I was taking the class, I'm like, I know what the problem is. And so then we changed it. It's not a roller coaster. And so once you start realizing chipping away at the fears, you're chipping away, chipping away, chipping away, it really helps. With the confidence speaking, when people have to do public speaking,
Hmm.
so far I've been pretty lucky. It's been 1 to 2 sessions because I really pump them up and we do a lot of great things.
You got it. That's amazing. Well, we still have gosh, only 3 minutes left in the show. It goes so quick. Did
Oh,
you want to talk about anything else on our sheet here? I know you talked about, some your obstacles, about a mentor. Did you want to talk about, any, quotes that you listed, or how did you want to kind of summarize today's show? It's up to you.
well, there is a quote from, and if I mispronounce his name, I apologize, Marcus Aurelius, where he says, get active in your recovery.
Okay.
And I love that because when you become active in your recovery, that's when you start healing.
Hmm.
And if you wanted to test out things on my online programs, or I believe in that if you don't like something, call me, send me an email.
Yeah.
You know, I give you a 30-day on the online programs, 30-day guarantee. If you don't like it, nothing has happened, I'll send you back your money. I'm not here to rip you off. The only programs I
Awesome.
don't do that with is the MP3s when you download the audio. So if you're really not it, give me a call. I'll send you something else. Um, but I just believe in my products and I believe in what I do so much that I
You.
just don't want to make it like, sorry, too bad. And that's how I am. And then, of course, you can have an in person, and during COVID,
Hmm.
I was seeing so many people. And I did find that when I was working with people on Zoom, they had better success for the whole session that they can listen to as many times as they want. That's why I love
Wow.
my online programs, because when you get them, you can watch them for the rest of your life. I don't give you just a year. You get it. It's yours.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Looking forward to the next time we get to connect. Remind us one more time how we can reach you.
So it's www.mentaledgellc.com
Hmm.
or 704-769-30. And I am Kathy Lindert, your favorite hypnotist.
You are. Thank you so much. Pleasure to have you here. Thank you for getting to speak with us and recommending this. This is possible. She's lived it. There's client testimonials. Go to the website, check her out, and hopefully we will talk again soon.
Great. Very nice meeting with you. And thank you.
You too. I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day and try to stay warm, right?
Yeah. Thanks. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.